Very good evening. You're watching the Urban Debate. I'm Afrida Rahman Ali. Even as the monsoon is lashing across India, tales of civic apathy and negligence galore. Tonight, the focus is on the incident from Pune where 3 siblings drowned after incessant rains. A red alert has been issued in Pune till the 14th of July. And following heavy downpour in the region, red alert has now been issued, as I mentioned, in Pune. Now, this is a case where 3 minor siblings drowned in an open pit near their house, which was filled with rainwater. According to cops, these 3 children, aged between 4 and 8 years, drowned after they ventured into the pit in order to take a bath. A man saw clothes kept near the pit and got suspicious, and that is when he decided to go on a search and found the bodies of 3 minor children. They were fished out of the pit. While this is just one example, in the last 1 month, we have witnessed several such instances. On the 6th of July, a biker in Thane hit a pothole and died after he came under the wheels of a state-run bus. On the 29th of June, a building collapsed in Kurla area of Mumbai, claiming 19 lives. On the 28th of June, an ex-army major in Kharghar was on his way back home when he veered through a pothole, lost control of his vehicle, and he was run over by a speeding truck. These are clearly examples of civic apathy and negligence that has claimed human lives, lives of innocents and lives of children as well. The fact that rains bring misery is something that is already known to the civic authorities. In that case, why wasn't there any sort of monsoon preparedness? Who is accountable for these deaths? And that's what we will discuss tonight. Joining me here on the program, Shweta Shalini, BJP spokesperson, Atul Londhe spokesperson of the Congress, Sajid Supariwala from the Shiv Sena spokesperson, also Dr. Sudhir Krishna, former Secretary Ministry of Urban Development, Advocate Sulaiman Bhimani, President of Citizens Justice Forum, which is an NGO. Very warm welcome to all of you. Thanks for joining me here on the program. Shweta, Shalini, I would like to begin with you. This is such a tragic case of 3 children, young children, between the age of 4 and 8 years old, losing their lives. Now, when I tried to probe this case with my colleague who's based in Pune, what we realized is that the authorities have simply decided to pass the buck. One, of course, it is said that this is a Gram Panchayat area. The police says that there is no civic authority responsible for this particular area. A family has lost 3 children. Can anything be more heartrending, more tragic? Your party, many believe, had a single-minded determination to acquire power back in Maharashtra. You've got it. But will anything change on ground?
Point and understand that when we talk about accountability, we need to figure out as to who is responsible first. So whose responsibility is it in the very first go? So yes, you are right. This incident, extremely unfortunate, happened in Khed, which is a completely village-prone area. I tried to figure out from my sources exactly what the incident was, and we realized that within the village, there were a few people, the villagers, who had dug a pit during the non-monsoon times for them to fill in with garbage and gravel, in which water from the monsoons went and it just stayed on top of it. The children tried to dive in and play in that pool, and they did not realize that there was a pit. Now, the entire incident is extremely unfortunate. 3 children have lost their lives. Somebody needs to be accountable. So yes, the panchayats, the gram panchayats, the sarpanches, we need to hold people responsible is one of the most important things. Our government, as you rightly said, has just about come in. So these questions should go to the people who have been ruling for the past 2.5 years. In fact, not ruling at all past 2.5 years, because there is complete lack of governance. There has been a complete lack of governance in the state. So yes, these questions should be asked to the Maha Vikas Aghadi. the two people sitting on your channel from Congress, the NCP and the Shiv Sena, as to exactly where was governance when they were ruling the state. Because what they had absolutely not done is governance. Second and most important thing is, once we hold these people responsible, what is the action that needs to be taken? There needs to be some action that needs to be taken. So, for example, in Thane, from where the current chief minister comes, there have been potholes where people have died. And yet, at that point of time, there were no action that was taken. But now I'm sure with the change of government, there will be accountability and at least some action will be taken towards irresponsibility
Shalini,
and
you're
irresponsible
aware
behavior.
that Mr. Shinde, who is now your CM in Maharashtra, was the urban development minister. So the same person is now holding the reins in the government that is run by BJP and Shiv Sena. So let's not try to shift responsibility. The fact of the matter is parties change,
In fact,
but
that's
nothing
exactly what I
changes on
said.
ground. Before
In fact,
that,
that is
the
exactly
BJP
what I
was in
said.
power. So, I mean, I am very sure of it. The moment I go to an MVA representative, they are going to say precisely that there was no investment made on infrastructure by the previous BJP Shiv Sena government. We can go on and on with this, and that's not what I want. You know, that's seriously not what I'm seeking here. What I'm trying to understand here is it that difficult to make a city safe for our children? Atul Londhe Patil, you know, as a mother, I mean, when I see something like this, I cannot believe that here is a country where children cannot veer around their own surroundings. The neighborhoods have become death traps for children. And there is absolutely no one who will take responsibility. In this case, at least, no one is willing to take responsibility.
Afrida, this is not a right time to take a dig at your opponent, but I would certainly take a dig because these people are very shameless people. Thanks, Shalini ji, you have not blamed Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru for these incidents. See, there are things which we can discuss about what should be done and what should not have done. Dada Bhuse, if at all you want to hold responsible, Dada Bhuse is with now Eknath Rawji Shinde, who was agriculture minister and water conservation minister and urban development minister. They are the same people who have joined BJP, and BJP is saying they are very capable. They know the governance. They are the people who attached to field. They are all sort of good things they are claiming now, and Shweta Shalini is blaming them that this has happened at the time of Maha Vikas Aghadi government, which is responsible for all bad governance. So forget about it. Who is responsible? Whether it is a local body like Panchayat Samiti or a Jilla Parishad or a Gram Panchayat. Basically, the permission to dig a pond should be taken from state government as well as from Jilla Parishad. So there are multiple agencies which are responsible to it. But seeing this incident, this is particularly a incidents related to labor class people, those who resides just behind the construction sites. So pre-monsoon, proper pre-monsoon planning is required. Proper guidelines should be given, and that guideline should be mandatory to all, because you will find so many pits, big pits, big pits dug by builders for big building construction. So mandatory guidelines should be given. Uh, uh, Committee should be formed, or a body should be formed who looks after whether these guidelines is properly followed before 7th of June. So because these things are happening in every rainy season. This is not happening for the first time, and this is not going to happen. That this is not so. This will not happen in future also. So we have to take care of it, and we have to come out with a proper policy,
No,
proper
but how difficult
governance.
is it, you know, how difficult is it, Mr. Patil, just to ensure that there is a signage, a simple signage, a simple barrier in an area where you know there will be children playing in that area, and some competent authority who's in a position of decision making will have to do it. You cannot leave it to the people in that village to do these things. If there is a pit dug out in an area where children are milling around, is there nobody who will take responsibility and think about the fact that this can prove to be very dangerous? Not for anybody for that matter. And exactly, you know, what happened here from my understanding is that children being children could not understand how deep this is. And the fact that they just wanted to have a full time in that area.
Children love to play with the water.
Absolutely. And therefore, when we talk about these incidents, it's not just why the reason why we bring this up is it can happen anywhere in this country.
That is why
kids
I'm
have
saying,
fallen
Afrida, that there should
into so
there
many
should be a
of these
policy.
construction sites. You have these open holes.
Governed by.
Every few months we have a case like this.
Of course, you're true. I'm not here to blame anyone. I'm not blaming anyone, rather. But I want just make a point that there should be a policy we should included in a disaster management policy, and some competent authority should be made responsible for it, because there are private players who are also responsible for this. Builders are responsible for digging the dips and leaving it without filling it. So all the factors should be taken into consideration, and policy should be there to take care of all these kind of things.
Sajid Supariwala, I want to bring to your notice that, the Shiv Sena, of course, runs most of the corporations in Maharashtra, around Mumbai East. And the same story, of course, we've seen...
BJP, which is governing more corporations than Shiv Sena. Shiv Sena is holding only 2 corporations.
Okay. In Mumbai, around Mumbai...
Around, Atulji, she said around Mumbai.
I said around Mumbai. Because, there were 2 incidents which we highlighted in the beginning of the program of pothole deaths. And we will keep reminding our viewers, we will keep talking about these incidents even if nobody else does. Because these are people's issues, Mr. Supariwala. Can you turn your focus away? What we saw was such a strong, a power tussle between all the political parties, wanting to sit in the position of power. Entire focus and energies were devoted in that. Was there any attention paid to the civic amenities for what can happen during monsoons?
I'm waiting for you to complete your question. Then
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. The first thing is there is some technical problem. I'm unable to see you guys, but anyway, I can definitely see that what I'm talking about. The potholes and many other things which you're talking about, let's not politicize anything or blame any party. What has happened is, as one of my friends today on your channel is saying, that Mumbai and other places, Shiv Sena is there. Shiv Sena is not there everywhere, but that does not mean that we'll shirk our responsibility. Definitely, the contractors and everybody should be taken to task wherever and whichever place, because not at the cost of human beings, they are losing their lives. But anyways, the kids also, the parents also, I'm not blaming anybody, and I'm not siding anybody with anybody because I'm from a particular party, but I'm talking generally as a public, as a citizen of India and a citizen of Mumbai. Being a Mumbaikar, I have noticed that definitely the BMC is definitely improving. It is not that it is not improving there. The last time, if you see, near Hind Mata, always the water used to be gathered there. There were a lot of floods near Hind Mata cinema. But now even that has stopped. So it will definitely take time for everything to be controlled. But I am just saying that also we should be responsible as a citizen of Mumbai. We are also liable to be definitely accounted for leaving our kids alone and young kids alone with the unattended, not only in a municipality road, but even there are places where there are swimming pools in buildings, and unattended and unescorted kids are going, and there have been cases of drowning. So I'm not shirking the responsibility. I'm repeating myself, because I am also sitting with a lot of people who are non-political, my businessmen friends, my other friends. They also always put in their inputs. So what I think is, it should be two way around. It takes 2 hands to clap. We also should not blame, but if there is something which is irresponsibly done, or some roads have been left unturned or undeveloped properly, or the contractors have used inferior materials, or whatever has happened, your contract should be cancelled. And definitely, I think in the upcoming time, the youths are coming up with the BMC. And very sure that after the leadership, I'm not talking about one leadership, but the youth leadership is coming up, and youths are very aware of what is happening. And I'm sure that this will take a turn. And this incident which has happened has also alerted us more than before, which has happened in Pune. I do not know that it has
How
happened in
many
Mumbai
incidents
yet.
will it take, to wake up the authorities?
No,
now
I'm
you're
not
saying
saying,
now we are
again,
alerted. Before this, one incident in Thane, one incident
I'm repeating
in
myself.
Kurla, one incident in Palghar.
That's what
Nothing
I'm
awakened you. Now you're saying we will be more awakened. How do we believe you, sir?
I'm saying this is one of the incidents. I'm not shirking the responsibility. I'm again saying it, that we are definitely improving. Like I gave you the example of Hind Mata Cinema, there are other places which will be improved very soon. It is happening, and not now. It has been done before monsoon. If it was not done before monsoon, this would have flooded by now. But this was pre-monsoon plans, and definitely BMC, especially in Mumbai, we are taking care of it. But other places, even when we are not there, if we by chance become, we have our corporators around.
You are not able to take care, I'm sorry, of the areas around Mumbai, which is why we played out those visuals of building collapses, of potholes. Are you aware that the wife of the major who died because of a pothole cried in this very program? Cried in this very program, saying my husband would have been alive if the corporations did their job. So clearly there is laxity. Let's not shy away from accepting it.
Don't you think I'm also saying the same thing? We are not blaming one party or one particular party or one particular section. We,
you
as a
just
whole,
said
we
that
have to
the
understand.
kids were unattended, Sajid ji.
You know, the pattern continues with the change of regime. That is the problem. There is the tussle for power, the greed for power has overtaken everything else. That is what has happened, isn't it? सत्ता की लालच में बाकी सब भूल जाते हैं, लोगों को भूल जाते हैं. Is that the situation? Advocate Sulaiman Bhimani, I heard, the previous speaker, Mr. Supariwala, also say that citizens also have to take responsibility. Do you also feel that somewhere, their tendency is then to say, "Maa baap kya kar rahe the?" Why didn't the parents take more responsibility of their own kids?
Yeah, it's not only the responsibility, it is about the ownership also, right? Now, when the pit was dug, have they taken any permission from any of the authorities? If the authorities have given the permission, have they implied some condition that after you digging the pit, you have to fence it that, this was, they fall because the water was filled. But it could have happened without water also. If the children are playing and they don't know. See, this started in 2011. If you remember, it was in Haryana. One of the child, he was in the pit, in the borewell which was dug and it was abandoned, and it was a 50-feet deep and it took 72 hours. The TV was carrying the same, and fortunately that child was saved. But since 2011 to 2022, we have not learned anything from our mistakes. So we have to take the ownership. Even the citizens, they cannot just put off the blame on the authorities, and even the authorities have to do their work very responsibly, because the same contractors are repeatedly given the contracts who are doing the bad road work. So why these blacklisted contractors, they change their company's name and then again they are given the same contract? Because there is some hand in glove, there is some vested interest with the authorities who are promoting such type of blacklisted contractors. And this incident, you cannot just blame on the authorities. The person who has dug the pit, he should be very well aware that after I dig it, I have to put a fence around it so that nobody falls in. It can be an animal also, it can be a human life also. So now what we have to learn is we have to respect the human lives. Don't value the human lives in India. The human lives in India are not, worth it, I mean to say, the way the things are going on. And we don't learn the lessons from the past.
I agree with you, sir. Very simple, isn't it? Just to have certain precautions, a signage, or fencing to prevent something like this. Not one, but 2, 3 children have lost their lives. I mean, it's family after family gets shattered, and no lessons are learned.
I agree with you too.
Yes, Dr. Sudhir Krishna, the other issue, of course, is that who's the competent authority? Now, here you do not have a mayor elected, ministries are not assigned, and there is this constant shifting of responsibility. Mr. Shinde's government has taken over, but then a lot of other things are in a state of disarray. Do you see that there's no sense of purpose yet with this new government that has come into power?
Well, I think the issue, with your permission, I would like to focus on the issue of flooding of city roads.
Sure.
And this would apply to flooding of village roads also. I mean, this artificial definition of discrimination or distinction between city and village and so on, that apart, we have to focus on how to maintain the city roads well, because the city roads not being maintained the way they ought to be maintained leads to flooding in the rainy season. And that leads to so many things. we talk of one incident where somebody, was hurt or somebody died, of different situations you have shown. And several times more situations are not reported, because if somebody is only hurt seriously also, it doesn't become a news item. But it is also a very serious matter. And hundreds and thousands of people, in fact, there are reports that more people die of road accidents, street accidents, than they die on for any other single reason. So what I would say is a time has come to go into depth of the matter as to why the city roads are getting flooded. And the immediate answer is that drains are all choked. The city drains which are pertinent to the roads, they are all choked in general. Here and there, municipalities try to clean, or authorities, whosoever maintains the road, they try to clean ahead of the monsoon, sometime during the monsoon. But it is not enough because it has to be properly aligned. Unless the drains are cleaned, the flooding will be there, and flooding will have its own fallout. For example, more pits will appear when the roads are flooded. If the rainwater moves away, flows away, then the roads will not be damaged so much and potholes will not appear in the first instance. So when potholes appear, then some incident happens and then we talk about who is responsible and so on. I think that is only like superficially addressing the issue. Mm-hmm. So going into depth of the matter, one point I mentioned is that the drains have to be, properly cleaned at all times, not before the rains. Before the monsoon, special check is required, but at all times, number one. Number two, the road definition itself. We are assuming the road to be the carriageway where motor vehicles move. That is not correct. The road includes the drain, also the footpath. And so the maintenance contract, the design and the development and maintenance, all must include all the three parts, the road, the drains and the footpath. And all should be in good shape. Then there will be no need for people to walk on the road on one hand, and the roads will not be flooded. Potholes will be much, much less, if not there at all, and rainwater will flow out. So these are very critical matter, and I think a time has come. We have crossed so much, time has flown now, that now immediate action will not work. A planned action, a national mission has to be launched probably for city roads. And for city means, I would say, even village roads also. Villages are also our part of the country only. And we can't have a different standard for roads in the, as far as safety part is concerned. So yes, a national mission is required for upkeep of the roads of cities and the habitats, whether they are in the city or in the villages.
Upkeep of the roads. Yes, sir. In fact, these are the two important points which has come out. Like, the maintenance of the roads, the upkeep of the roads, the fact that the drains are not regularly cleaned, these small things that can go a long way. If the checks and balances are not in place, a lot can get affected. Cumulatively, things build up. A very important point also, like Advocate Bhimani said, there is an unholy nexus, an ugly nexus with contractors and politicians, owing to which the wrong people get the contracts and the same mistakes are made. There are substandard roads built in the first place, which require that much more maintenance. And, that, of course, is the problem, the crux of the issue, as the two experts are pointing out. But again, going back to Shweta, Shalini, some were accusing the BJP-Shiv Sena alliance earlier of investing in showpiece infrastructure in Mumbai city, which were not really addressing the real issues of the people. For example, the Trans-Harbour link connecting Mumbai's island with the mainland. So those kind of, posturing or showpiece infrastructure, but ignoring the real issues, like we just heard, of maintenance of roads, that would perhaps take more effort, would not be as visible to the people. But your government always went for the grandstanding. Do you agree?
Okay, before I answer your question, I need to talk about two statements that you have been making again and again. One, I heard you say at least twice, saying the entire attention was coming back to power. Please understand that the mandate was always ours. It was these people who stole away people's mandate and made an illegal
that you did everywhere
government.
In the country. That you did everywhere in the country.
Atulji,
okay,
I don't blame
Ms. Shalini finish.
You did it in Meghalaya. You did it in
So we've gone back to the power-grabbing argument. I didn't want this program to be about that. I did not want this program to be about how the BJP and the Shiv Sena got together. Please carry on, but let's stay on the topic if possible. Go ahead.
Yes,
let Ms. Shalini finish, please.
Second thing, you mentioned that after coming back, there has been no sense of responsibility. Please note, none of you on this debate know the actual problem. The problem is that most of the corporations have not gone into elections for the past 2 years. There are some corporations where elections have been pending, and they have whom will you take for accountability? Whom will you name as mayor? There is absolutely no elections. These people did not do an election for Navi Mumbai, for places where across Maharashtra, where the government has not existed for the past 2.5 years. Last but not the least, you heard the Shiv Sena spokesperson Sajid Ji speak. He said we need more time. 30 years he's been in Bombay BMC corporations. You still have so much potholes, and you turn around and ask me a question, BJP a question.
We are not talking only of Mumbai, man. Shweta ji, where are you going? I mean, we are not talking about Mumbai.
I'll allow you, Mr. Patil. Let Ms. Shalini finish. I'll allow you to rebut. Don't worry. I'll allow you. Let her finish.
That we have just done tokenism as far as infrastructure in Mumbai is concerned. I'm coming to your question now.
Please go ahead. Yes.
Afrida, please understand that the basics. Who tendered for the pumps that is required in Mumbai? We did. Who made the actual infrastructures in Mumbai? We initiated. Unfortunately, for the past 2.5 years, they did not do it. Pune Metro, who did it? We did it. Look at all the basic.
You have done everything. You have done everything. No other party has done anything. Only you all are.
1 second. Let her finish. Let her finish.
You all only have been doing everything. You have been managing. So Mumbai is not an easy thing. Mumbai is not an easy thing to manage. Look at the infrastructure.
I do not want to shift the blame.
And you have so many corporations in other places also. You are just talking. We are not this topic.
This is not a political debate, Shweta Shalini. This is not a political debate. It's a debate over who takes responsibility when children die. Let's have some respect for the family who's grieving tonight, the loss of 3 young children in Pune. I'm sorry, I cannot allow this kind of a verbal spat between two political parties. Let me bring back our viewers' attention to the topic here. Shweta Shalini, calm down. Let's have a civil debate on where and how can corrections be made. Let's have a constructive debate. You know, let's not get into this slanging match. I want constructive answers. First, of course, I'll allow the other two panelists to respond. Otherwise, I will be blamed not for giving everybody equal chance. Atul Londhe Patil and Mr. Sajid, go ahead. Mr. Sajid first.
Yeah. First and foremost, let me tell you, this debate was never about only Mumbai. This has happened in Pune. Of course, Mumbai also has had incidents. I'm not denying the fact. I'm not shirking the responsibility. But I'm not blaming anybody. Shalini ji is directly saying that Shiv Sena was there from such a long time. It is definitely there is place for improvement. Mumbai is developing. There is so much population happening. There are so many things happening. The metro is coming up. They are talking about metro. What have they done? Have they done any safety guidelines for metro? Metro is not only under Shiv Sena. If I'm not wrong, kindly tell me what have you done? What safety measures have you taken? I see on the road when I travel, there are so many irresponsible things happening on the metro work. So don't blame only one party. We are not blaming Shiv Sena or BJP or Congress or whoever. We are working about how to come out of these problems, how to become better. Talk about development and betterment. Why going into blame games? If I go into blame games, I can blame so many things on you. So don't, you are power hungry. You are coming up in the states and trying to break all the governments in all the states. Why are you
Your
not
party
definitely
is
taking
now with the
responsibility?
BJP, a large chunk of the Shiv Sena. So it's interesting to see BJP and Shiv Sena sparring over this. Because at one level it is the BJP and Shiv Sena that is in power. And here you have the spokesperson of the Shiv Sena and the BJP, of course, accusing each other. We have been allies for the longest time. You know, I understand there's a split now. Okay, I'll have Mr. Atul Patil also respond quickly, sir.
See, I don't want to go into the split spat of BJP and Shiv Sena. They have been together in BMC also, and they have been together in so many corporations. So let's forget about it and give an advantage to BJP that BJP never commits a wrong. Perhaps they are none less than the God. In the first first instance, likewise the secretary who is sitting over here, we are on the same note that we should come up with a policy, because every single life is important for us. It doesn't matter whether it is a doctor, it is a doctor's life, or it is a poor kids, or it is anybody else. Every life is important. So we need to include this in a disaster management plan, and national policy should be drawn, and special allocation should be allotted to it, so that from signage, from the permission, from the mandatory provisions for private players like builders, for Gram Panchayat, for Panchayat Samitis, and for Jilla Parishad, and for corporations also. Because here in Nagpur, Gadkari has come up with a lot of cement roads. But what happened, it did not properly supervised, and the level was not properly maintained. Now 70% of the Nagpur is under waterlogging situation after this flooding. So instead of blaming each other, we are civilized people, we are learned people, we are literate people. We should come up with a policy. We should give whatever suggestions we can give. We should ask for suggestions from people also, from NGOs also, and we should come up with a policy. Without having policy, we can't deal with this, because somebody mentioned about the 2011 issue of borewell. So many borewell issues happened after 2011 also. Recently, that happened in Chhattisgarh, the state which is Congress ruled state. So we need to have a proper policy, 100% foolproof policy.
But your party was in power, Mr. Patil. Party was in power. Let me give you this example. There was a major landslide on the Western Express Highway near Kandivali due to heavy rains in August 2020. The Mumbai Metropolitan Region Development Authority proposed 13 crore mitigation and stabilization work. 13 crore rupees of project was planned. What has happened? Has anything improved to prevent landslide accidents? The location is tested with traffic. There is congestion. It's 2022 now. The situation hasn't improved in the past 2 years that your party was in power in Maharashtra.
I am ready to owe all the responsibility. Every life is important. And if Congress was in power or was in opposition, it is our responsibility to save every life. I am taking the responsibility as a congressman. We can't do away with this. We have to take the responsibility. But let me tell you one thing: when you cut the hills, the cohesive property of mud, of a stone gets loosed. With the heavy rainfall, with the water, it bounds to landslide. So there are shit landslides, there are landslides happens, and we have come up with a lot of technology. बहुत सारी technology हमने इसमें लाई है. You know, Khuni Nalla, highway number 1 from Jammu to Kashmir is known as a Khuni Nalla, where you can see a landslide happen every now and then. The same is with the Deccan Plateau.
You know, it's very convenient to blame nature and then say, well, you know, part of it is because of inclement weather, part of it is because of treacherous territory.
You did not listen to my narration properly.
Go ahead.
I said it's a battle between, rather, it's a adaptation between the climate, between the nature and the man. It's a continual fight between nature and the man, and nature always wins. We are coming.
But when you invest this kind of taxpayers' money, let's also see some results, isn't it? Millions are spent, or at least proposed to be spent, but with no tangible results.
That later on failed. See, we have done netting. That later on failed. We have tried to create a safety walls that falls apart. In Bihar, we have come up with the embankments that falls away. So nature is more powerful than us, and we have to keep on fighting with it. If you want development, if you want to fight with the nature, you will have to be ready for these kind of things.
Dr. Sudhir Krishna, do you agree that, you know, how you have to sometimes surrender to the nature's fury? There's only so much the government can do.
We are not surrendering, ma'am. I use word fighting.
I have something to say.
We need not feel weak before the nature, because God has created this universe and He has empowered us human beings to resolve our problems. As I said before, because cities are getting more people and even smaller villages are being abandoned in favor of larger villages, people are migrating from smaller villages to larger villages, and from larger villages to towns, and from towns to cities. This is a continuous process all over the world. It is happening, so people will come to city. Only thing is, cities have to be planned, and cities planning many things are good things are happening. We are getting under JNNURM, the water supply issue has been resolved already, supported later by the Amrut program and so on. Now, hardly any city faces drinking water problem during the summer season also. Similarly, the sewage problem is also much better than before. Unfortunately, at that time, the road was not given so much significance. So a time has come to give attention to city roads and city drains. This water which is flooding the cities, if it is allowed to flow properly and flow in two ways, one, into properly developed ponds and lakes, and second, go subsoil. It will enrich subsoil aquifers. It will improve the storage for the surface storage, which can be utilized well during the summer season. So therefore, we have to give attention. That's why I suggested earlier that a time come to launch a national mission about city roads. It will automatically resolve many problems, because one accident here and blame game and so on, it will be only very superficial reaction to the situation. As I said before, numerous 100 times or 1,000 times incidents are not reported and not taken note of. It happens one or two, and then also
no, we do, sir. In fact, when we took up this story, there was a certain section even within the newsroom that felt, well, this has happened in the back of the beyond. It happens in villages. We are one of those channels. We do not ignore the far reaches, the rural areas where people are paying taxes. Everybody is paying taxes, direct or indirect. We take up their issues, sir. And I'm sorry I interjected you on that point, because I was eager to make this point about how we are taking up this issue. But please finish your point, sir.
So I'm saying that for villages also, in the village also same problem is there. The drains are not getting attention. So even villages are facing serious flooding problems, whereas this water can be give a lot of benefit to villages as well as to the cities. So it is not difficult also. It can be funded under the Mahatma Gandhi rural employment program also, where the labor oriented work is there. So funds are not an issue. There is enough money, but what is required is good planning and good visionary planning and management capacities, and attention is required. It is a problem that can be resolved very well in a short time also, just in a year or two. It can be resolved substantially.
And political intent, isn't it? The priorities will have to be set right. And I think that will solve bulk of the issues.
Gujarat is literally under flood.
No, I'm sorry. What Dr. Krishna said about how visionary planning, how management is meticulous, planning that can be meticulous. There can be a thorough job done to resolve these issues. Mr. Sulaiman Bhimani, as a citizen's voice in this program, I would like to end with you. The last word to you, Mr. Bhimani. Go ahead.
I was just searching for an article, the blacklisted contractor who was blacklisted in 2015. But in March 2020, the same contractor was given 25 crore rupees contract in the L ward in Kurla. So until and unless the engineers of the BMC are not accountable, and there has to be a transparency in giving the contracts, and there has to be, check on the quality, what material is being used. Now, the people who are working in India, if they go and work in Gulf countries, they give 25 years guarantee, not even a khadi, what we called in Hindi language, a concrete, a small stone of 20 mm cannot be, if it comes out within 25 years, the same contractor has to do it free of cost. So why this thing, when our same contractor and same labor are doing a good job in Gulf countries, why they are not able to do it in India? Because until and unless we don't make the officers, the engineers accountable and a cross check on them, this is going to repeat again and again. So we have to, what you call the corruption, which is in the blood of all the Indians, has to come out. Then only we can improve and value the human lives in Mumbai and in India.
End the program with the value of human life. Once we start valuing lives, perhaps a lot of corrections will be made. The authorities will wake up to the fact that they cannot continue with this kind of a laxity in their jobs. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us, to all my panelists for joining us on the program this evening. A short break here. News and updates continue on the Urban Debate.